introduce Maylands' boy. I call him a boy because he was a boy when I first knew him. He was a little boy. Graham Burkett, as most of you know, he grew up in 10th Avenue, left Maylands. Next thing he bobs up, he's mayor. He's on the council of the city of Stirling. Then he's the mayor. The next thing he's in Parliament as part of the government. But just before we go, there's a little story that I like to tell. And actually, it's ironic that the students from Curtin are here tonight, because there was a time some years ago when I was on the council, and I pulled up in the car park at Curtin Uni, and as I stepped out of the car, the guy in the next car looked at me, and I said, "Goodness me, Graham Burkett, I haven't seen you for years." And we started chatting, talking sailing, and we walked through the car park and through the grounds and down a long corridor, and there's a young lady there sitting at a table ticking names, and Graham and I are talking, and in we go into the, I don't know what the room was, big room, curtain. We're all done up in the suits, Graham was as well. And I was there to represent local government at a Swan River Trust who'd been involved in a program with Curtin Uni, and I was representing local government at this particular event. And so I'm done up in all my good gear, and so are all the other people in the room. Big room full of people. And I looked around, and I recognised Judy Edwards, Clive Brown, people I knew in the government. And Graham and I were still talking sailing. And Jeff Gallup comes up, and Graham, "Oh, Jeff, have you met Terry Gordon?" He said, "No." And I said, "Oh, I certainly haven't met you, Mr. Perry, but congratulations on being now Premier of WA." And he said, "Oh, you're at Bayswater Council, is that right?" And I said, "Yes, as a matter of fact, the girl in your office, your secretary, is also a councillor." "Oh," he said, "Marley." And we chatting away, and he had a glass in his hand, and he said, "Look, I'll just get this glass full of water." He said, "We'll get the show on the road." And everyone's taking their seats, and I'm standing there. I said to Graham, "I can't see the Swan River Trust people here." And he said, "Well, I won't tell you what he said." He said, "Mate," he said, "this is the bloody cabinet meeting." He said, "What are you doing in here?" I said, "You brought me in here." You remember that?
Yes, I do.
So I went, boom, out the door and up the next corridor, found the room where the Swan River Trust people. So, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me a lot of pleasure to introduce Graham Burkett.
Thanks very much, Gary. I've got some handwritten notes. I'm never have been computer literate, and my 8 grandchildren, ranging from 9 to 19, can do anything. I can't even fix the television. So when it breaks down, I said to Beryl, "Say, look, we'll get Lewis, get Matty, get this one, get that one." Even the little 9-year-old Emily is smarter with those equipment than Nana and Grandpa. But my name is Graham John Burkett. I was born on the 9th of November 1936 at 18th Avenue, Maylands, the home of my late grandfather, Jack Lockhart, a former Gallipoli War veteran. I lived at that house for the first 12 years of my life. The house in 10th Avenue was asbestos with a tin roof, comprising 3 bedrooms, a sleep out on the back veranda. It had no hot water, no gas stove, no electric stove, no refrigerator. It had a wood stove in the kitchen, which was lit 7 days a week. In the bathroom there was a chip bath heater, and in the wash house, which is separate from the main house, there was a wood-fired copper, 2 stone sinks, and a corrugated glass washing board, which Mum would rub our clothes against while washing them with velvet soap. Our toilet was in the backyard, about 25 metres from the back door. We had a Coolgardie cooler, which was a Hessian bag storage unit with cold water on the top for keeping food cool. and we had an ice chest. The iceman would call once a week, selling large blocks of ice to most people in Maylands. In the apple season, the apple truck would call once a week. Mum would generally buy a bag of Granny Smith apples, which lasted us 1 week. My mother, Pearl, was the second oldest of 9 Lockhart children. My father, Lindsay Burkett, was the oldest of 3 children. His family lived at 37 10th Avenue, Maylands. My grandfather, James Burkett, was a self-employed road and paving contractor who operated from a yard at 35 10th Avenue, where he originally worked with a horse and dray. A dray is a huge, heavy wooden cart, which he used to cart the blue metal to the various job sites. I had 2 brothers, Bob, born 1931, and Jim, born 1933. Bob, who was a publican at Exmouth, died on the 4th of February 1992, his 61st birthday. Maylands is a suburb that remains near and dear to my heart because it is here that I have such fond memories of my childhood. In 1942, I started my school years at Maylands State School. This school was never known by any other name. Every child started their schooling in Year 1 at the Little School, at the corner of 7th Avenue and Guildford Road, Maylands, directly opposite the main school. The principal of Maylands State School was Molly Larney, who taught the children in 6th standard, our final year. She ruled the school with an iron fist, and she was never remembered for any acts of kindness. My favourite teacher was Miss Good, who taught us in 4th standard. She was good by name and good by nature. As children, we walked everywhere. My parents did not own a motor car, nor did my grandfather Lockhart. When I was 4 years old, my father went to the Middle East with the Royal Australian Air Force. He returned home when World War II ended, at which time I was 8. Dad was in the theatre of war the entire time he was away. My brother Jim was responsible for seeing me safely to and from school each day. Whereas we were supposed to walk over the footbridge near the Peninsula Hotel, we in fact walked across the railway line at the end of 10th Avenue to Watley Crescent. 2 businesses in Watley Crescent, which remain clearly in my mind, were Pavey's grocery shop and Ma Kenny's second-hand furniture shop. We would then walk up 8th Avenue, across Guildford Road, then down to 7th Avenue and the school. The largest business premises in 8th Avenue was Farnham's grocery store, which had huge barn-like wooden doors across the entire 8th Avenue frontage. On the opposite side of 8th Avenue was the Lyric Theatre, which was owned by Herb Robertson, who lived down on Peninsula Road. My mother often told the story about the Friday night I went to the Lyric with my brothers when I was 5 years old. Bob arrived home from the pictures at about 11 p.m. Mum asked him, "Where's Graham?" Bob replied, "He's with Jim." Jim arrived home at 11:15 p.m. Mum asked him, "Where's Graham?" Jim replied, "He's with Bob." Mum quickly realised I must have been locked in the theatre. She had to ride her bike with no lights down to Herb Robbie's home and asked him to please reopen the Lyric Theatre. Begrudgingly, Herb Robbie put Mum's bike in the boot of his car, drove her back to the Lyric at midnight. Sure enough, there was Graham in the front row of the dark theatre, sound asleep. Every Friday, I must say, Herb Robbie, later on, after I became mayor of the City of Stirling, Herb was invited to a civic function out there. Our politics were poles apart. This was 40 years after he reopened the theatre. When he was introduced to me, he said, "If I knew how you were going to turn out, I'd have left you in that bloody theatre." And that's a true story. Every Friday night, Jim and I would go to the Lyric with 1 shilling each. It cost 6pence to get in. We'd spend 3pence at interval, and when the show was over, we'd purchase 3pence worth of hot chips from the fish and chip shop in 8th Ave. Then we'd walk down to Bride's Bakery in Watley Crescent and buy a hot poppy seed loaf for 3pence. We'd take the warm bread out of the poppy seed, eat it, then fill the bread, break it in half, and fill it with chips, eating them as we walked across the railway line in the dark and home to 18th Avenue. In the summer months, we'd go to Herb Robbie's open-air theatre in Guildford Road called the Roxy Gardens, where we sat on canvas seats. There were no recreation centres in Maylands in the 1940s. In the football season, a group of boys from Maylands State School, including Len Pavey and myself, would go to the Oval at 6th Avenue, which was called the Rec. We would then kick the football in and out of the goals until about 6 p.m. every Monday to Friday. This practice must have helped Len Pavey, because he was one of the few schoolboys in WA to be selected in the state schoolboys football team in 7th, 8th and 9th standard. Len was a top student at Maylands State School. At 12 years of age, he won a scholarship to attend Perth Modern School for his 5 years in high school. Len went on to become the Director of Physical Education in Western Australia. We last met at Elmer Benville's funeral. We had one barber in Maylands, Mr. Longbottom. Every boy that went to him got the same haircut, short back and sides. We had two doctors in Maylands, the partnership of Dr. Magnus and Dr. Betty Ambrose, whose premises were in a house in Watley Crescent, directly alongside the 7th Avenue Bridge. One of the best known families in the early days of Maylands was the Watts family, whose original home was on the north side of 8th Avenue between Watley Crescent and Guildford Road. Three sons, Jim, Charlie and Les Watts, all rose to the position of police inspectors, and all were champion horsemen. At the Perth Royal Show, the three Watts brothers won numerous prizes year after year. Jim Watts was the father of John K. Watts, who also attended Maylands State School 1 year behind me. John regularly kicked my football out of the upper playground, across Guildford Road into the blind school. When the school bell rang, I had to run across Guildford Road to recover my football, even though he kicked it there. And that would happen 2 or 3 times a week. Our favourite swimming hole was the river at Caledonian Ave. One of our special friends who also lived in 10th Avenue was Coral Thompson, a champion dancer who went on to become a leading dancing teacher in WA. Coral's grandfather, who also lived in 10th Avenue, was Senator Clothier, a very popular politician. The property currently occupied by Ross Selvage was in the 1940s owned and occupied by R.E. Arnold sheep metal workers. Mum's youngest brother, Reg Lockhart, who lived with us, served his apprenticeship with R.E. Arnold and worked there for many years as a sheet metal worker. Arnold's also owned all of the land up to and including 16th Avenue, so they were our neighbours. In the 1940s, Jim and I both belonged to the Maylands Meccano Club, the largest and longest lasting Meccano club in Western Australia. On Saturday the 26th of May 1973, I was elected as a councillor of the City of Stirling, which then had a population of 183,000 people, spread over an area of 43.5 square miles, spanning 31 suburbs. On the same day, Elmer Benville became the councillor for Maylands, and no one could have represented this area at that time better than Elmer Benville. She was a true gem who loved Maylands and fought every year to get as much money as she could from the annual budget. During the 2 years that Elmer was mayor, I was her deputy, and you might say I was her protector, because some of the men on council were extremely mean to Elmer, but she toughed it out and she was a very good mayor. I got the top job at Stirling in 1979 and remained its mayor until 1983. In 1983 I stood for State Parliament against the Honourable Ray Young, the member for Scarborough. Ray was a thorough gentleman and I was lucky to defeat him. When I attended Ray's funeral, just a few years later, his wife Sheena said, and as I was walking out from the funeral, Bill Hassel and Richard Cork were directly behind me, and there would have been about 500 or 600 Liberals and me, and Sheena put her arms around me and hugged me and she said, I knew you'd be here, Graham, and he was just a great, great man. I had 6 years in State Parliament and lost my seat in 1989, one term short of getting a pension, following a boundary change in which it was said that I was a sacrificial lamb in a fierce power battle. Last but by no means least, in the eyes of the three Burkett brothers, and when I rang brother Jim last night, he's 3 years older than me, he was widowed 10 years ago, and he now lives alone down a peaceful bay just out of Denmark, and he said, Graham, I'm glad you put this in. Last but by no means least, in the eyes of the three Burkett brothers, John and Terry Gaunt were the best yachtsmen in the world, not just Australia. Terry in his little BJ Villain, and John in his bigger boat Victory. In our opinion, the Gaunt brothers were better than Rolling Tasker, Sid Corsa and Jack Cassidy. Naturally, the Quant boys had to be the best. They came from Maylands.
Would you please accept this as just a very small
token of
appreciation?
Oh, beautiful.
Right, you didn't need to mention that. Sailing was part of your interest too.
Well, brother Jim was undoubtedly the smartest of the three boys, and he didn't change one word. He said, "I'm glad you remember the shilling," he said, and we never, well, apart from the night they left me there, but we never departed from that. Through its worth of chips. Bobby was 6 years older than me, 3 years older than Jim, so, you know, when we were doing all these things and Jim was looking after me, Bob was out, involved in the scouts and fighting anyone that wanted to fight. And in those days, anyone that had any problems they wanted to fight, the fights were held behind the Lyric Theatre. And they just were. And the police knew they were just one-on-one, no kicking or anything like that, fighting, boxing with your fists, and that was it. You know, so I only ever had one fight there and I won a tight grip while I was there. Thanks, mate.
Oh, thank you. And fantastic, because we learned a bit more about Maylands and your growing up as a young fellow here. That's fantastic stuff. The story about her probably having to go down and get you out of the
Oh yeah, he said, truly, he said when he came over to City of Stirling, the civic function, and I was there, and I said, oh, this is her, Robbie, and I heard that story from Mum, right? And he said, if I knew how you were going to turn out, I'd have left you in that theatre.
Bob, I'll just tell you this little bit about Graham's brother Bob. He was a well-known publican in Perth and Kalgoorlie, and of course he finished up Exmouth, North Cape Lodge and Hotshot Inn. Bobby Burkett was known all around West Australia. He got involved not only in running hotels, but he was a broker and bought and sold hotels.
Yeah.
And his daughter wrote a book about Bob, and I've got a copy of that book. So if anyone's interested later, they can have a look at that book. In fact, I'll leave it in our library so that it is in the library of the Historic Society. Yeah, but it's a good read because he was quite a character. The Burkett boys were all really quite a character.
Thanks for the invite, Terry. I appreciate it.
Graham, thank you so much.